Title, Offered. The offer arrived on a rainy Tuesday, the kind of rain that turned the city into a blur of silver lines and trembling reflections. Lena sat alone in the small cafe near the bus terminal, staring at her phone as if it were about to bite her. One message. 7 words. We would like to offer you the position. Her hands shook so badly she nearly dropped the cup of tea she could barely afford. For a moment, she laughed, a soft, broken sound, because only an hour earlier she had been calculating whether she could skip dinner again and still make it through the week. Lena was 27, with tired brown eyes that looked older than her years and hair she cut herself in the bathroom mirror to save money. She had come to the city 3 years before with a suitcase, a nursing diploma, and the stubborn hope that hard work would be enough. It wasn't. Between hospital night shifts, unpaid internships, and caring for her younger brother Amir, who was only 15 and still limping from an old accident, life had become a careful balancing act between exhaustion and quiet panic. That morning, she had almost not gone to the interview. The coat she owned had a torn lining. Her shoes leaked when it rained. The company was famous, a private medical research firm that paid more in a month than she earned in 6. Lena had stood in front of the mirror, touching the bruise under her eye from another sleepless night, whispering, "You don't belong there." But she went. The office tower rose like a wall of glass against the gray sky. Inside, everything smelled of coffee and polished floors. She waited with other candidates, all confident smiles and tailored suits, while she counted her breaths to keep from running away. When her name was called, her knees nearly gave out. The interviewer was a woman in her 40s named Dr. Helen Strauss, with calm eyes and a voice that didn't rush. She asked about Lena's studies, her night shifts, her brother. When Lena spoke about Amir, about how she learned to read medical reports so she could explain them to him, about how she stayed awake to make sure his pain didn't return, her voice cracked. She apologized, embarrassed. Dr. Strauss didn't interrupt. She listened. 2 hours later, Lena walked back into the rain convinced she had failed. Now, in the cafe, staring at the offer, she felt something she had not felt in years, relief so sharp it hurt. The job meant health insurance for Amir. Physical therapy. A real apartment. No more choosing between food and medicine. She texted her brother first. "We're going to be okay." Amir replied with a single word, "Really?" That night, they ate noodles with an egg each, a rare luxury, and laughed louder than usual. Lena told him about the lab, the machines, the white coats. Amir listened with wide eyes, as if she were describing another planet. The first weeks at the new job were harder than she expected. She was the youngest in the department. Most colleagues were in their 30s and 40s, confident in their roles, fluent in a language of data and protocols she was still learning. She made mistakes, small ones, but enough to burn her cheeks with shame. One evening, after mislabeling samples and staying 3 hours late to fix it, she cried in the bathroom, silent and shaking. At home, Amir noticed. "You don't have to be perfect," he said, leaning on his crutches in the doorway. He was 15 but spoke with the wisdom of someone who had learned pain early. "You already saved me once. That's enough." She smiled at him, but the pressure didn't leave. Then came the challenge that nearly broke her. A major trial failed. Weeks of work collapsed overnight when unexpected results forced the project to be suspended. The lab buzzed with tension. Funding was at risk. Rumors spread that contracts might not be renewed, especially for the newest staff. Lena stopped sleeping. She imagined losing the job, the insurance, the fragile future she had just begun to build. One evening, she stayed alone in the lab, rechecking data that wasn't even assigned to her. Her eyes burned. Her hands trembled. Dr. Strauss found her there after midnight. "You're not responsible for carrying this alone," she said gently. "I can't lose this," Lena whispered. "My brother, we need this." Dr. Strauss looked at her for a long moment. Then she said something Lena never forgot. "This offer wasn't charity. We chose you because you belong here. Trust that." The next weeks were a test of endurance and faith. The team reanalyzed everything. Lena volunteered for the least pleasant tasks, the long nights, the tedious checks. Slowly, patterns emerged. A small error in the original protocol. A variable no one had noticed. Lena noticed. She brought her findings to the team, her voice shaking but steady enough. They listened. They tested it. She was right. The trial restarted. Funding stayed. The contracts remained. 1 month later, Lena received a permanent position. The night she told Amir, he cried, openly, without shame, and hugged her so tightly she could barely breathe. His therapy sessions began soon after. The limp softened. The pain faded. He started talking about college. Years passed. Lena turned 32, then 35. Her hair grew longer, her eyes brighter. She became one of the senior researchers, mentoring new graduates who reminded her of herself, nervous, hopeful, uncertain. One afternoon, she found a young woman crying in the same bathroom where she once had. Lena didn't rush her. She listened. And when the girl apologized, Lena smiled and said, "You belong here." On the 10th anniversary of that rainy Tuesday, Lena stood on a small stage at a medical conference, receiving an award for her work on a treatment that helped children walk again after nerve injuries. In the front row sat Amir, now 25, tall and strong, no crutches in sight. When she finished her speech, she looked at him and said one final line. "This all began with an offer, and the courage to believe I was worthy of it." The applause rose like a wave, but the real victory was quieter. It was in the life rebuilt, the fear transformed, the simple truth learned too late by many and just in time by her. Sometimes, the greatest gift an offer gives you is not the job, or the money, or the title. It is the permission to finally believe in yourself. 10 hyper-realistic image prompts, with age and look consistency. Main characters. Lena, female, age 27 at start, slim build, tired brown eyes, medium-length dark brown hair, modest clothing. Amir, male, age 15 at start, thin, short black hair, uses crutches, gentle expression. A 27-year-old woman with tired brown eyes and dark brown shoulder-length hair sits alone in a small rainy cafe, holding a smartphone with trembling hands, steam rising from a cheap teacup, neon city reflections on the window, hyper-realistic cinematic lighting, emotional tension. Inside a modern glass office tower lobby, a nervous 27-year-old woman in worn coat and leaking shoes stands among confident interview candidates in suits, soft daylight through tall windows, high detail, realistic skin textures, anxious expression. A calm 45-year-old female doctor interviewing a 27-year-old young woman in a minimalist office, warm desk lamp light, subtle facial emotions, realistic professional environment, intimate conversation mood. A small dim apartment kitchen, 27-year-old woman and her 15-year-old brother with crutches eating noodles with eggs, warm yellow light, simple furniture, emotional sibling bond, hyper-realistic style. Late-night laboratory scene, 27-year-old woman in white lab coat crying silently in a restroom mirror, fluorescent lighting, reflections, exhaustion on face, high-detail skin and tears. Midnight lab hallway, 45-year-old female mentor speaking gently to exhausted 27-year-old researcher, soft shadows, glass walls, quiet supportive atmosphere, cinematic realism. Laboratory breakthrough moment, 27-year-old woman presenting data to a team of scientists, nervous but hopeful expression, holographic charts, professional lab setting, ultra-realistic lighting. Physical therapy room, 16-year-old boy learning to walk without pain, 28-year-old sister watching with tears and smile, medical equipment, natural daylight, emotional healing moment. 10 years later, 35-year-old successful female scientist on conference stage, confident posture, elegant suit, spotlight lighting, audience blurred, hyper-realistic professional portrait style. Front row audience, 25-year-old healthy young man smiling proudly at the stage, no crutches, bright eyes, emotional pride, cinematic depth of field, realistic skin and lighting. If you'd like, I can now adjust length for exact 15-minute narration. Rewrite with a male lead or different setting. Add a YouTube-ready opening monologue and closing moral. Create SEO title, description, and tags for this story.